Chris Brown must pay Housekeeper $13 million over the dog mauling attack, y'all. Oh my. Hey there, it's Anonymous Tea, where we spill the tea anonymously. Hello, everyone. Hello, YouTubers. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day today, sending good vibes, sending positivity, sending blessings, and good energy to each and every single one of you. Thank you so much for tuning in. So, anything I say is alleged and in my very, very personal opinion. This is for entertainment purposes only. None of this is personal. The Copyright Act of 1976 is in the description box. Some meat and potatoes, some housekeeping items. So, today we are talking Chris Brown, and now we understand why Chris Brown is doing these back-to-back stadium tours. We understand now why Chris Brown is dropping an album almost every year at this point, or every other year, because the bills gotta be paid. And by the bills, I mean the latest drop, which is allegedly Chris Brown must have to pay the housekeeper $13 million over a dog mauling attack. So this is courtesy of the Rolling Stone, but this is everywhere. It says the woman was attacked by a security dog at the singer's Los Angeles mansion back in 2020. Chris Brown must pay $13 million in damages to the housekeeper who was mauled by a massive security dog on his property in December of 2020, a California jury decided on Tuesday. Brown and his company, Black Pyramid LLC, must pay $12.9 million in damages to the housekeeper, Maria Avila, for negligence, said Michael C. Murphy Jr., a lawyer representing her sister, Patricia Avila. Patricia, who was working with Maria when the attack happened, was awarded $885,000 for emotional distress. Maria's husband, Oscar Olivo, who claimed his wife's injuries affected their marriage, depriving him of the intimacy that they had before, was separately awarded $50,000. Billboard was first to report the news after more than 5 years of litigating against Chris Brown. We are thrilled that we were able to get justice for our client, Patricia. We are so happy for her and her family after everything they went through on that horrible day. It was an honor to represent her, Murphy said in a statement to Rolling Stone. Did I say Roller Stone? Rolling Stone. No verdict can restore what was taken from our client or erase the trauma that she has endured, added Maria Avila's attorney, Nancy Domanian. Sorry if I'm butchering your name, but today's decision acknowledges the magnitude of her losses, provided meaningful accountability, and reaffirms a fundamental principle. In our justice system, every person is entitled to equal justice under the law, regardless of the identity, wealth, influence, or celebrity status of the defendant. Maria Avila gave emotional testimony at the 2-week trial, breaking down the witness stand as she described the December 12, 2020 mauling at Brown's home in Tarzana neighborhood of Los Angeles. She said that the attack left her with severe injuries to her arm and her face, extensive scarring, and post-traumatic stress disorder. I will never be the same again, she told jurors in the courtroom in Van Nuys, California on June 24th. Testifying in Spanish through an interpreter, Avila described a grueling recovery. She said surgeons harvested skin from her abdomen to graft onto her mangled arm, leaving her in extreme pain and unable to bend at the waist. The lacerations to her face required dozens of stitches. Pandemic restrictions barred her family from visiting during her 5 days in the hospital, forcing her to endure the ordeal alone. A mother of 3, Avila told jurors the nerve damage and chronic sensitivity on her left side still made it hard for her to sleep and carry out basic daily tasks. She no longer has the arm strength to scrub floors or wring out a mop, she said. Well, after this judgment, lady, you're never going to have to do that again. Meanwhile, the attack also left her afraid of all dogs. That fear, combined with her physical limitations, has effectively ended her career as a housekeeper since most of her former clients own dogs, she said. Avila's daughter, Jocelyn Espinoza, sorry if I'm butchering your name, testified after her mother, recalling the panic call she received from her aunt, Patricia Avila, who also had been working at the house that day, and filled her in and filed her own claims against Brown. She was just freaking out, telling me, your mom can't breathe. She keeps passing out on me. The ambulance is still not here. Chris Brown fled the scene. No. What do you mean Chris Brown fled the scene? What? Espinoza testified, I did not think she was going to make it. Brown, 37, testified as the first witness at the trial. He told jurors he heard the dog, Hayes, growling outside and rushed downstairs to find Avila face down and motionless on the ground. He told jurors he locked up the dog, called out to his security guard to summon help, and bent down to make sure Avila was breathing. He acknowledged that he didn't personally call 911. Why did Chris Brown take the stand? Wait a second. What? Chris Brown, who advised you to take the stand in this trial? Because this is epic fail. This is epic fail. This is why you have to pay her the $13 million, among other things. Your first thought was to take care of the dog and lock up the dog and not call 911. You know what I'm saying? And then you call out your security to summon for help. And then you see whether or not she is still breathing. And you acknowledge you didn't personally call 911? What is the world coming to? Saying he feared a recording would be leaked to the media. But well, Chris, why did you take the stand? Who cares if the 911 call got leaked to the media? Ultimately, an incident happened on your property, and the first thing to do is make sure the person's okay and do all the measures to keep that person alive. And we don't know how long the housekeeper was dealt. Had 911 been called sooner, you know what I'm saying? We don't know how much potential decrease in some of these injuries or some of the nerve damage or some of the lasting effects that have taken place with this housekeeper could have impacted, you know what I'm saying, her recovery, her treatment plan, and all of the things. So he acknowledges, Chris Brown does, on the stand, under oath, that he did not personally call 911, saying he feared a recording would be leaked to the media, and that is the least of your worries, Chris Brown. Ultimately, an incident happened on your property, a very serious and severe incident that happened on your property, and the sister is testifying that this lady is passing out, that she is calling the lady's daughter, letting her know she doesn't know whether or not her mom is about to make it out here. Like, that was severe. I don't know why your first instinct was not to immediately call 911 and tell your security to go guard the dog, or whatever the case may be. So then he also testifies on the stand that he never touched Avila, offered her water, brought her a towel, or gave her any comfort beyond telling her help was on the way. What? Who advised Chris Brown to take the stand? I'm going to continue to ask this. Who advised Chris Brown to take the stand? Am I reading this correctly? It says that he never touched Avila, offered her water, brought her a towel, or gave her any comfort beyond telling her help was on the way, meaning never offered her any water, never brought her a towel, or gave her anything comfort by telling her help was on the way, because you had to flee the scene. What would have been the problem with you being there and waiting for paramedics to get there with a woman bleeding in your driveway? Why would that be a problem for you as a celebrity? Avila's lawyer, Nancy Dumanian, asked, incredulous. And then Chris Brown says, because of how my image is in always use. I didn't want a misleading story or like a circus from my status. It's pretty sticky when it comes to that. So me staying out of the way was advised. What happened to being a human being, you guys? What happened to being a human being? And here's the thing. You showing the care for that housekeeper, you taking that initiative and calling 911, you offering her water, you offering her towels, you doing anything and everything you can to provide comfort, to provide any type of empathy and anything else, apologize, all of the things that could have avoided, you know what I'm saying, this lawsuit. Or at least if this lawsuit happened, potentially decrease the amount that you're going to have to pay in damages and the total settlement. This is insane. And he thinks that because his image is so important to him, as if he does not have a history of ABUSE and ASSAULT and flat out losing his mind all the time against women and men, you know what I'm saying? Like what are we doing? And so then somebody said, didn't you think your reputation would take a bigger hit? I think this is the attorney still. Didn't you think your reputation would take a bigger hit if you fled the scene? Dominion Press. This is nuts. Brown said he did not flee. He said he spent a couple of hours driving around and stopped at a gas station before he was advised as safe to return home. No. You fled the scene. You fled the scene. You did not stay with the housekeeper. You did not call 911. You did not offer any comfort, any towels, anything to assist her, any water, anything. You know what I'm saying? You did nothing. You did nothing and told your security to do it. And basically said, I'm out of here. It sounds like those couple of hours that you were driving around sounded like you were in a panic. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you were in a panic. So then it says, Avila testified that she didn't know the large Caucasian shepherd, also known as a Central Asian ovcharka, I'm not familiar, was on the property that day. She told jurors that she only saw Brown's two other dogs, small French bulldogs, and she denied Brown's claim that he warned her not to go outside without an escort because there was a third dog on the property that was not friendly. Speaking softly, Avila said that she had gone outside to empty a vacuum bag when the attack occurred and that she can only recall flashes of the mauling and its aftermath. She told the juror she had to leave the courtroom during opening statements when the graphic photos of her injuries were displayed. Child, this is a mess. This is a mess. This is absolutely a mess. And that she still hasn't been able to look at them. It is very hard for me. I can't, she said. With her hands visibly shaking, she rolled up her sleeve and walked to the jury box, turned her gaze to the wall as the jurors examined the raised and pitted skin covering much of her forearm. She then removed her glasses and swept back her bangs to reveal a pattern of scars running from beneath her left eye upon across her forehead. Before trial, Brown admitted negligence under California's dog bite statute in a court filing. He continued to dispute the extent of Avila's injuries and claimed that she was partly at fault for going outside alone. No. Brown's attorney acknowledged during jury selection that Avila was entitled to some damages, but said that there was a difference of opinion over the amount. Several prospective jurors were dismissed early in the selection process after saying they could not be impartial because of Brown's 2009 felony ASSAULT conviction involving his then-girlfriend Rihanna. The judge previously ruled that this history was not relevant to the case, but that the prospective jurors brought it up on their own. This is a mess. This is a mess. Chris Brown, what were you thinking? What were you thinking? This is an insane case. This is an insane case. I don't understand. This should have been a private, closed-door settlement. This should have never went to trial. And Chris Brown, you should have never taken the stand because you basically presented yourself as a rich, entitled celebrity that could care less about the staff on your property when harm was done. And you fled the scene. What do you mean you drove around for 2 hours and went to a gas station? Who advised you to do that? But y'all going up for Chris Brown? Y'all are gonna be at the Chris Brown and Usher concert, right? Y'all got y'all tickets, right? Y'all gonna be there at the stadium tour to see Usher and Chris Brown? Like, this is insane. This is really insane. But in this particular case, Chris Brown has nobody to blame but himself. The evidence against him was overwhelming, which it is in all the cases that involve Chris Brown, which is why I don't know why y'all continue to give this man a pass, because it never ends well for him. But whoever advised him to take the stand, this was a complete and epic failure. Because basically Chris Brown is basically saying, I had no intention of doing anything to help this housekeeper because I was concerned about my image. I didn't want to call 911 because I was concerned about my image and my voice being leaked to TMZ, right? I didn't do anything to provide any comfort to my housekeeper. You know what I'm saying? No water, no towels, no nothing. But because I really didn't care. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really care because it was all about me. It was all about me, and I had to figure out how quickly I could flee the scene, so I passed the buck over to my security guard. And why was there no communication about this other dog that was on the property? Why was there no communication about who could or couldn't go outside? Like, why is there always reckless things taking place at the Chris Brown residence? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. So I am not surprised by any of this. I believe that the ask was for way more, a much higher settlement, I believe. And I believe that they were fighting, because I remember this case, that they were fighting to include the Rihanna case as part of Chris Brown's history of violence and everything else. But in this case, I mean, it wasn't technically needed for this case, but ultimately, if it's not you, Chris Brown, allegedly putting paws on people, it's your animals. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing out here? But I just cannot believe he decided to testify and take the stand as if it was going to make him look good when all of the signs were pointing to him being guilty. This should have been, this should have never went to trial. This should have been a private settlement, you know what I'm saying? A closed case, a private case, because listening to this testimony from Chris Brown is a disaster. I have never heard of somebody getting attacked on your property by your dog. You find out about it. You know it looks bad. And instead of doing anything to provide any comfort for your own staff member, for your own employee, you pass the buck to your security. And you can't even have the decency to call 911 immediately when you see your own employee in distress. You're more concerned about locking up the dog and more concerned about fleeing the scene to drive around for 2 hours and get gas and who knows whatever else. That tells me you panicked. That tells me you were frantic. That tells me you were scared. Because you knew ultimately you were responsible for this. So nonetheless, y'all, that is it for this video. I am just floored. I am just floored that Chris Brown really had the audacity and really thought that it was a great idea to take the stand and defend himself, when all the signs point to you being held liable. Make it make sense. So nonetheless, do me the biggest favor, and that is to hype the video. Hype the video, please. There's that. That is it. That is all. Es todos, es final, es finito. It's the end of the road. It's the end of the line for this video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Please do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you're notified the moment I post some content on my channel. And with that being said, I'll talk to you guys again very soon.